Greetings, everyone. It is a lovely Monday morning here in southeast Georgia. Oh, careful, bird. A little eager. Came a little too close to my truck. That would not have been good. Anyways, yeah, it's a nice morning here in southeast Georgia. I had a pretty good weekend. Didn't really go out too much. We did go to a local plant sale. That was nice. So picked up some native plants. My wife put them in the garden. There was one thing that I was looking at, which is called like Florida anise. It's just like the leaves smell really nice. It's like this root beery smell. And they have like these beautiful flowers that kind of look like normal star anise that you get from the spice aisle. So I planted that in our side yard because I want to replace some of the bushes there because they're not natives. I'm kind of I guess you'd say a hippie or something like that. I like promoting the local flora and fauna. The native bees, the native wasps, and the native bugs and birds. They all deserve a little bit of love. You know what I'm saying? So we got some of those, buried them out of the yard. Had fun with the kid. Just normal weekend. Just normal weekend, nothing special. So, news-wise, over the weekend, from what I recall, the Epstein files have been a huge thing in the news. Really, I think starting Wednesday or Thursday last week. But man, oh man, it is it's causing some issues. But I'm not really surprised because Epstein was connected to a lot of people in the elites. There's pictures of him with Trump. There's pictures of him with both the Clintons. His right-hand man, or right-hand woman, I should say, Ghislaine Maxwell, was at Chelsea Clinton wedding, like front row seat. So that means she was pretty close with the Clintons in their entirety, the whole family. So not a good look, but it makes sense that this admin who had a guy who was very close with Mr. Epstein would say, oh, there was nothing there. There's such thing as a client list, which there wouldn't be a list of clients necessarily that Jeffrey Epstein, he made a Word doc back in 2003. He was like, I'm going to put the names of all the people who are big baddies. It would be a collection. It would be a collection by, the DOJ in the investigation. But to say that it doesn't exist at all is absolutely preposterous. When Pam Bondi had a document on her desk, a big stack of papers, and she was like, this is it. This is the client list. This is all the info. And we're going to sort through it. And then just to be like, nah, this doesn't exist. It's kind of crazy, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a point of contention for a lot of people. And I think it should be. There are questions there that have not been answered. And, sorry for the glare if there's any. There's questions there that have still yet to be answered. It deserve these questions deserve to be answered. If there's people doing horrible things to children, they should be exposed. They should be prosecuted. I don't care if what letter they had next to their name if they ran in politics. I don't like Hillary Clinton. I don't like Donald Trump. I don't like either of them. They're both trash. And if they both go to jail for, being involved with a sex ring, a child sex ring, then good. I'm not so beholden to the status quo, especially if the status quo is being held together by elites that diddle children. So, off my rant for the morning. Sorry to kind of put it in a weird, dark place, but it is very important. Sex offenders should be prosecuted. fully. No one should be above the law. Let's get into the news. We should be about halfway through the Marketplace Morning Report.
Vicky, protecting the personal and business applications and accounts people rely on every day, stopping phishing attempts and hackers in their tracks. Learn more at ubico.com.
A 50% tariff on imported copper is set to take effect August 1st. Copper is one of those critical metals. It goes in everything from pipes to electric vehicle batteries. And now that a tariff wall is about to go up, shipments originally headed for the U.S. are getting diverted to other destinations like China. Marketplace's Nova Safo has more.
Commodities traders have been anticipating copper tariffs for months, and they sent copper imports flooding into U.S. ports.
They're trying to see, can they take advantage of what I've been seeing called as a once-in-a-generation trading opportunity.
Selling copper at a premium and getting it into the country ahead of higher import taxes. Dan DeYonga has been watching this happen from his London-based perch as lead copper analyst at Benchmark Mineral Intelligence.
Already since March, we've been seeing almost double the usual volumes of copper heading to the US.
Last week, we learned that 50% tariffs are scheduled to kick in August 1st. And after that, traders will no longer be able to command a premium price. And yet, they still had a lot of the stuff heading to the US. That's a problem.
You're not necessarily going to fully sort of complete the transaction before the tariff deadline. So I think, that's why all of a sudden we're seeing a lot of volume sort of being rerouted
to China, Canada, and elsewhere.
The reality is that copper will probably just stay outside of the United States.
Gracelyn Bascaran is the director of the Critical Mineral Security Program at the
We
Center
need
for
copper
Strategic
for
and International
everything
Studies.
electrical
She
in
says
this nation.
traders are now likely going to wait to see
And a lot of
whether the US
manufacturing
tariffs
of
actually stick,
metal alloys.
and a lot of copper ore is probably just going to sit in storage instead of being processed into useful copper metal.
You have to remember that there is limited smelting capacity globally, so it's likely also to potentially create backlogs in the global supply chain.
As we've learned through the COVID era, supply chain backlogs mean higher prices.
Inflation.
And remember, copper is critical. It's in a lot of things.
Supply shocks cause inflation.
Construction, plumbing, electricity.
Ryan Young is senior economist at the Competitive Enterprise Institute.
Electrical utilities, because whether you're using fossil fuels or renewables, you're still going to use copper transmission wires.
Yep.
So, in the short term, global copper traders walk away with hefty profits. Some copper shipments are diverted to China and elsewhere, and American companies pay more for the copper they can get.
Yep.
I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
It's absolutely
Copper
stupid.
prices, by the way, down 1.5% so far today. In New York, I'm Sabri Benishore.
It's so dumb. Like, why? Why are we doing tariffs this way? Like, tariffs can be, wielded in an intelligent way to help boost domestic markets. Especially, when you're trying to have products that are made in your country and then sold within your country, because it's not really going to help selling outside of the country too much. And depending on how drastic this tariff is, you might get into a trade war, which we're already so deep into. And then those goods that you did have, and that became competitive on the local markets are now even less competitive on the international markets. Excuse me. Well, if you want to do tariffs to increase local production, and by local I mean within, the country, the state that you're in, you don't tariff raw goods, especially raw goods that aren't produced within your own borders. And yes, 50% of the copper in the United States is I believe mined and refined here in the States. That's good. But that means 50% of copper is not, half the copper is not being produced here, being mined and produced, and is not being, as they said in this report, is going to get shipped somewhere else because people are not going to be willing to pay for it, from abroad at all. So yes, that may boost local copper production. That's good, for the companies that already are in, copper production. But I mean, these aren't mom and pop, mines. There's no such thing as a mom and pop mine. There's barely such thing as a mom and pop store anymore. So you can even make arguments about, you know, local businesses or whatever. It's still international conglomerates that are, you know, they have essentially bases here in within the states. But back to my original point, you shouldn't be taxing and tariffing raw materials, because you need those raw materials to make finished goods. So if you make the raw materials more expensive, you're going to make the finished goods more expensive, which is going to inflate prices unnecessarily, and it doesn't benefit you know, everyday people, everyday Americans, and specifically, you know, the people within the markets that you're trying to increase production and spending in, which for us is, you know, us, everyday Americans. The place I work at, we do projects. We do, you know, engineering projects, construction projects. You know, we just put in a new DCS system earlier this year. Guess what we used a lot of? Copper, because you can't replace copper in electronics. It's just not a thing. Electrical distribution and electronics are based upon silicon for solid state, and they're based upon copper for conductors, because you're not going to get much better than silicon with technology today, and elementally speaking, you're not going to get much better than copper when it comes to power transmission. So all those things are going to get more expensive. You know, the completed wire bundles that we use for our instrument loops, you know, for a pressure or temperature detector, the back planes for the little cards that actually read like the pressure and temperature and talk to the computers. Those are going to get more expensive because the copper inside them is more expensive. If they even were made in America in the first place, that's a separate conversation. But the one, you know, things that are made in America, they're just going to be more expensive because they're the copper, and it's going to be more expensive, right? So this doesn't actually help anyone necessarily. And ultimately, it's just us, you know, working people that end up paying for it. And yes, bigger businesses are going to suffer because it's going to hit their bottom line, because they're going to have to be paying more in taxes, and they're going to pass off those costs to the consumers, who are going to end up paying for it anyways. And then those big companies, because of these increased costs, you know, they might not make their, you know, 3% growth targets for the year, or whatever their target is. And to offset that, you know, not as huge profits, because they're probably still going to make good profits, they're going to lay people off, and they're going to fire, you know, normal everyday Americans from their job, so they can, you know, save $80K a year, you know? God, what is happening with traffic? I do not know. There's a little push and go right now. Man, that's just my big tirade. God dang. Tariffs are so dumb, especially tariffs on raw materials. Those are the dumbest. It's affecting the electronics industry. It's affecting just electrical production in general, which means it's going to affect the power industry, which means it's going to affect the ability of you to pay your electricity bills every month, because those are going to get more expensive, because projects by the utilities are going to be more expensive. It's affecting just like other consumer goods, as in like food, as there are import taxes and like increased sales taxes. That's really what it is, increased import taxes, tariffs on grains. So breads are going to get more expensive. Anything made with grain is going to be more expensive, which means beer. So if you like to drink beer, you know, that's going to be more expensive. If you're a home brewer, that's going to be more expensive. Like, all these things are going to be more expensive because of tariffs. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And then things that you can't get in America in the first place are also going to be more expensive, like bananas, bananas, mango, like really just tropical fruits and tropical vegetables that just are, one, non-endemic to America, so they don't grow naturally here. So it already takes a lot of effort to grow them, you know, even on a small farm, as just like a nicety plant and not a commercial crop. But that means it is impossible to grow as a commercial crop. So the only way you're going to get it in America, get bananas in America, is by importing them in. So big rant, big dumb rant. We shouldn't have tariffs. Back to the news.
In the arts, school leadership, and youth development. More at wallacefoundation.org. This is NPR.
As we age, even a healthy brain begins to lose a step or two. Reaction times slow and recall can lag. Now, scientists are looking at how to minimize those changes.
Sleep is really important. In a big picture, the better you sleep, the better your brain health is going to be, both structurally and functionally.
I'm Ari Shapiro. Hear more about their research on brain health on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Join us for All Things Considered from 4 to 6 this afternoon, right here on GPB. This is Morning Edition on GPB. I'm Pamela Kirkland. Thank you for starting your morning with me and GPB. Coming up, temporary protected status for Afghan refugees in the U.S. ends today. Hundreds could face deportation back to Afghanistan, which is now under Taliban
What the
rule.
hell?
It's worse for Afghan women that have work experience. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes.
That story's coming up in 15 minutes.
Oh, I can't even hear.
On GPB.
What the hell? We ruined this country. We invaded a nation which, like, yes, it had people in it that we didn't like, and, religious fundamentalism is not good, whether it's, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, any religion. Fundamentalism ultimately is bad. There was repressive laws there, but we went there because specifically Saudis, performed a terrorist attack on our nation. So we went to the other side of the Middle East entirely. We invade their country. We ruin any semblance of governance that they even had in the first place. We go from local kind of city-state infrastructure to complete warlords, and the people who helped us along the way, the local Afghans who spoke English and translated for our troops, and kept Americans alive on this evil mission. People who are just trying to do their damn job, and they had a higher sense of serving their country, or they were just trying to get college, or they were just trying to get out of the hood, something like that, out in bumfuck Afghanistan. They could have died if it wasn't for the help of these people. They were able to come home because these Afghanis were, translating for them. They were helping them get around. They were helping them avoid dangerous places. And now we're telling these Afghans who have lived in America for years now, and we're on their process of becoming American citizens, that they can just get fucked. That they're not real enough. They're not American enough. What does that even mean? We're a nation of immigrants. These people saved the lives of soldiers, saved the lives of Americans overseas. They pushed, they supported the agenda of America during a forever war. They helped the state, and now the state is telling them to get fucked. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It's unacceptable. What the hell? It's not cool. Hello there again. I just wanted to make a quick addendum to the Afghan refugee statuses being revoked. Their temporary protected status being revoked. So I said, yeah, this is going to affect interpreters that help the army and everything, which is true, 100% true. But it's more than just people that directly fought or directly worked with American Marines, American soldiers during our war. It's also affecting the doctors and nurses that worked over in Afghanistan, that worked in local hospitals during the war and before the war and before the Taliban took over, who took a risk and helped out injured Americans and injured local Afghanis when they were, attacked by the Taliban, when, they were shot at or hurt or, on death's door. They saved lives. They saved local lives over in Afghanistan, and they saved American lives for the soldiers who were over there and the humanitarian efforts that were over there. In addition, it's not like it's just these people who came over in 2022 when Biden pulled out of Afghanistan. These are people who lived in the United States for the past 20 years. We got to remember that we started this war when I was 5 years old. I was a child. That was over 2 decades ago. So there's people who have been here in the United States working their asses off, trying to reestablish their lives because their country fell apart, first because of the Taliban and then because of American intervention in the region. And because of how broken our immigration system is, they have not achieved full citizenship yet. And now they're being told they need to leave within 7 days. That's what some of the letters that these people, these teachers, these nurses, these doctors, these just everyday people, they're basically Americans at this point, except for a piece of paper. They're being told that they need to go back to Afghanistan, go back to a fallen country where they will be killed by the Taliban within 7 days, or else ICE is going to round them up and send them there forcefully, or send them somewhere even worse. So just a little quick addendum to that. Like, I don't support the Afghan war, but we shouldn't abandon the victims of it.
French President Emmanuel Macron had the toughest words. He warned of being
Wow, the radio is bad right here today. Okay, that's a bit unlistenable, so I might just cut it off here for the day. Sorry it wasn't much of a radio day. It was mostly just me talking today, getting prompted by the radio, which I guess is kind of the point of this series. It is to got a copper doing speed. Little bike cop. Anyways, they got to get their quotas for the month, No, that's the point of the series, to hear the news, to give my thoughts on it, give my opinions on it. It's it's just very frustrating, especially in this time. There is hope, though. There are changes that are happening in our country. There are men and women who are trying to challenge the status quo, who are challenging political figures on both sides of the aisle. These geriatrics that are in Congress, these geriatrics that are in our state legislatures as well, or people who, they served 2 or 3 terms and they feel like they have, like they're owed a 4th term, they're owed a 5th term, they're owed a 6th term, just because they've been sitting in the same seat for the past 8, 12, 16 years, Nah, that's unacceptable. You got to earn your seat every time. You got to earn your earn your privilege to represent, So there's a lot of good news on that front. There are people taking challenges in New York, in Illinois, in Connecticut now, and I hope to see more in Georgia. Get connected with your local political action groups, whether that's your local, Republican Party or Democratic Party for your county or city or state, or maybe a political offshoot like the Working People's Party. I believe that's what they're called. They do a lot of great work around the entire United States, but they're kind of more localized in specific areas, even though I think they have like hundreds of chapters across our country. So get to work with them. Hell, if you think you can you can spit on a mic and you got some good ideas. You can start your own political campaign, and heck, you should do it if you think you got the guts and the gusto for it. So we'll leave it off there for the day. Thank you for listening in. I hope you all had a really great weekend, and I hope y'all tune in for the rest of the week. Bye.